Today we're going to take a look at replacing the steps going up to my front porch as they're falling apart, to say the least. My method for replacing the stairs isn't perfect, as I'm essentially putting lipstick on a pig until I replace the whole front porch. But I don't have the money to do that quite yet, and these were a definite liability. To start off, I wanted to do this build as if I was using only items from the local hardware store, but I also have 2x12x16s just chilling in my garage, so I used a 5 stair stepper from Home Depot as a template and cut that out of the 2x12s. Full disclosure, I thought that 5 steps was enough for what I had in my mind, but I should have extended it to be 6. I didn't feel like cutting more and wasting wood as it's very expensive currently, and so I worked with it. So as mentioned, we traced out the 5 stair stepper onto this 2x12x16, so we have more steppers to use. You should have a stepper for every 36 inches, however, I wanted one for every 18 inches just to make sure there'd be no movements of the steps themselves when people came up them. So I cut a total of 5 additional steppers, for a total of 6, to use for this project. At $25 per stepper, using the existing wood I had was a far more economical option. It wouldn't be a project with me and my battery-operated tools if my battery didn't die immediately into the recording. This whole project was a labor of love for getting it recorded, as everything was dying as I was trying to use it. You'll notice camera changes, weird cuts, and or missteps at points during this video, as it's so hot in Florida already that all of my gear was overheating. So if I'm going to be doing more outside recordings, I do need to get that figured out. To cut out the steppers, I'm using both my circular saw and a jigsaw. The circular saw cuts the majority of the way for the angles for the steps, and then the jigsaw finishes it off without cutting deeper into the wood than is necessary. Case in point, that jump right there? Camera overheated and stopped recording. Whenever I'm recording, it's almost a guarantee that I have earbuds in, so if it's made a noise, I definitely didn't hear it. Also, anytime that you're working with cutting anything, make sure to wear proper PPE. The sawdust and chunks of wood flying around are no joke. Before we can install any new stairs, we have to disassemble the old ones. Or, well, an old ramp and then old stairs at the front. Whatever. Whenever these were built, they were mostly screwed together. But a lot of the screws are rusted, stripped, or broken, so it wasn't the easiest thing to disassemble. The reason for the changes to time lapses is due to the aforementioned overheating. Let me know what y'all think on it if I should use them more often. You'll also notice an entire change, and that's due to this taking me 2 days because it was just way too hot for me to keep going after I did one side. But I wanted both disassemblies together in post-processing, so here we are. Here we can see the rough idea for how it all goes together. Stepper sits on concrete blocks, and first step is actually concrete blocks as well to keep everything off of the ground. Then we're using a joist hanger to hang the stepper to the existing 2x6 frame of the deck. There are ones designed for steppers, they just wouldn't work well in my application with the existing structure. To start hanging the steppers, I went ahead and used a cutoff of 2x material to work as my height adjustment, as I want the steps on this side to create a small platform before going down. After that, I screw in the joist hanger and screw it to the stepper. I know there are many of you who will chastise me for using screws instead of nails, as screws are more likely to shear, and you're 100% right. I just didn't have nails and worked with what I had. When I rebuild the whole deck, it'll be done with nails for the steps. One thing that insisted on fighting me the whole time was my impact driver, deciding that it shouldn't have a magnetic tip anymore and dropping screws. It used to be magnetic, but I guess over time it's lost it, or due to the heat it's not working properly. Either way, incredibly annoying dropping screws each time. Remember that thing I said about missing steps and losing footage? Yeah, that happened here. Immediately set the audio gain to -30 to not blow out everyone's eardrums, and it's time to start cutting the actual stairs. I picked up this Evolution miter saw a couple of months back for some metal cutting, but it also does absolutely amazing with wood as well. Definitely worth the money for this thing. The saw stand, it's not my favorite, but it does work. Here I use the end stop from the saw stand to get the same exact cut every time, which makes things much easier and quicker. Also, sorry about the camera jumping around here. I'm actually not too sure what happened here as it's on a tripod. I think the GoPro was trying to level the horizon with all of the straight pieces of wood on screen, and so it was like waving itself internally. As I said, not too sure what happened. Before I actually screwed any of the steps on, I wanted to see if a 2x6 would fit for the vertical section of the steps, and it doesn't quite fit, unfortunately. So I just didn't bother with it for now. I'd have to rip down the 2x6 by about half an inch on my table saw to get them to fit, and I just didn't feel like doing that. For attaching the 2x6s to the steppers, I'm just using 2.5-inch screws to keep them in place and make it easier if I ever have to remove them, which I will when I go to rebuild the deck. I cut the steps to be 3 inches wider than the steppers, which would give me 1.5 inches on either side. You can see me use a cut-off piece of 2x material, as it's actually 1.5 inches as my guide. I forgot to do this on the left side, and then had to go back and unscrew the left side and adjust it after the fact. With the front steps, I attached two 2x6s to be able to have the steps be one step lower. I attached a 2x6 to the back of the existing front board that was there, and attached the second front 2x6 to the bottom of that piece of wood. After that, I marked out my center and attached my first stepper, and marked the spots for my other two before attaching them. I then cut my boards for the steps themselves and attached them with screws. I made these have a 6-inch overhang on each side, as the 2x6s that I'm using are more than strong enough to support someone standing at the edge. I haven't made any handrails for these yet, and am not sure if I will, as these are more temporary until I rebuild the whole deck. In the meantime, I know that my postal carriers are much happier not having such shady steps to walk on each time they drop off a package for me, which is almost daily. But that's all for now. If you like the content I'm putting out, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all new content as it comes out. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.